Yo, 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 what's that word? This is the 12 Inning Podcast. I'm your host, Broderick. Now, today, our video is going to be a schedule prediction for the Coaches Poll Top 25, starting off with the number one team, the UGA Bulldogs. How we're going to break this down is going to be potential upsets on the season, how the UGA Bulldogs match up with their conference rivals and rivals in general, top three players on offense and defense, and finally, key storyline in the schedule prediction itself. Now, first, the potential upsets. That's what everybody want to hear about. I don't see many on the schedule for Georgia, but I did write down three that I thought were potential trap games for the Bulldogs on their quest to be three-time reigning national champions. The first one was South Carolina. I believe that's the third game of the season. It's in Athens, so Georgia has the home field advantage there. But I really believe in Shane Beamer, steady veteran quarterback, and Spencer Rattler. I think it took him some time developing that system, but it looks really good the last couple of games of the season with South Carolina beating Tennessee and Clemson. They returned a lot of veterans on that offensive line. Has to replace key players like Marshawn Lloyd, but I think they're going to do well there. Intriguing five-star freshman Nicholas Harbor there on the outside. I believe South Carolina is playing him at receiver. 6'5", 240-pound dude that was an Olympic level athlete, is an Olympic level athlete in not in long distance or the jump, and quick twitch speed. So it's there. He's going to be a matchup problem from his speed and size and physicality standpoint. It's going to be tough on Georgia. You have to see who I think is going to win in my schedule predictions later on in the video. The second team was Ole Miss, another team in Athens. Starting off with the running back. Best running back in the SEC, Quinshon Judkins, possibly in the nation, even though, I would say Trey Benson, but I digress. Lane Kiffin knows how to score points. We got to see who the quarterback's going to be. Uh, Reports have been that Jackson Dart is still leading that race, but you still have Spencer Sanders, transfer from Oklahoma State, and Walker Howard, transfer from LSU, five-star freshman quarterback. And we got to see how that's going to play out. Also, Austin Simmons. I don't think he's going to factor into being the starter, but again, it just shows you the level of talent in that quarterback room. Whoever the starter is going to be extremely battle tested from the youth and the veterans. Again, this game is in Athens. Georgia has the home field advantage. They're going to have an excellent defense, but again, that Ole Miss offense is going to force them to do some things, put them in some uncomfortable positions. I don't know if they're going to pull out the upset, but those are the potential upsets I see, and one more, and that's the University of Tennessee, the Volunteers. We got to see how Joe Milton is early in the season. He's going to have to get comfortable in that offense, as I'm sure he has been with practicing there last year behind the Heisman candidate, Hendon Hooker quarterback. We're going to have to see how he turns out this year. Big arm, but that's what we pretty much heard about him. They can throw the ball real hard and can throw it real far. Reminds me a lot of Anthony Richardson. We haven't seen him much with his legs, and that was something Anthony had over him, but we got to see how that plays out. Anyways, we're going to this game, minus the other two, is not in Athens. That's the good thing about it for Tennessee's upset bid. It's actually on the road in Knoxville. We're going to see how that one plays out. Next, we're going to talk about the key storylines. Key storyline is the quarterback battle. We got to see who's going to win. Reports have been overwhelming that it's going to be Carson Beck, but he's competing with two five-star freshman and sophomore. One being Gunnar Stockton, the other being Brock Vandergriff. Carson looked really good in the spring game. I'm a Jacksonville native, so I know about him from out here. 6'4", 215 pounds. I think it's his time. Learned a lot from Stetson Bennett last year. Got a lot of transfer receivers coming in, so he has to gel with those guys along with veteran talent around him and Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey on that offense in an incredibly large and veteran talented offensive line in front of him, and Dejon Edwards to hand the ball off to, and Brian Robertson as well. So I think that's the key storyline. It'll be interesting to see. Georgia fans, get in the comment section below and let me know how that's going out, how the quarterbacks are looking in practice, and who do you ultimately think is going to start. Next, we have the top three players on offense and defense. Top three, we're going to start off on the offense first. Number one, gotta go with Brock Bowers. Best tight end in the nation, possible top 10 NFL draft pick. If he would have won out as a freshman, Rain Mackey Award winner. I think this guy is ultra talented. You can't even really qualify him as a tight end. He's more of an offensive weapon, more in a George Kittle, Travis Kelsey mold. He's that talented already. And I think he's going to have a chance to be one of the top tight ends as a rookie when he gets to the NFL next year. I can't wait to watch that. But before that, he's going to be the number one player in this offense, like he has been for the past 2 years in the past two national championship teams. Next is the quarterback. You got to go with the quarterback, and I think it's going to be Carson Beck. So, of this video, I'm going to say Carson Beck is the number two offensive player for the Georgia Bulldogs. Strong arm, knows how to distribute the ball, but most of all, he just has to be a game manager in the offense. He has so many talented guys around him. He has to make sure that no disastrous mistakes happen. Which he's getting great coaching, and we got to see how that plays out. Another key storyline I could have added around this quarterback situation was the transition from Todd Monken to Mike Bobo, back to Mike Bobo as offensive coordinator. We got to see how that works out. But I think he's getting the right coaching. I think Georgia is going to shift to more running the ball, playing 12 personnel this year. The third offensive player I'd like to highlight would be Cedric Van Pran, the veteran center on the offensive line, captain on that offensive line. It's been that way for a while now. He's going to be the one, him and Carson together, directing the entire offense. You don't often see that from an offensive lineman perspective, but he's going to have a chance due to his vast knowledge of the system and him possibly being the best center in college football, along with the other mammoths, giant guys they got on that offensive line. Moving on to the top three players on the Georgia defense, I got Malachi Starks, freshman All-American, really burst onto the scene in that Oregon game. He either had one or two interceptions, but besides that, fantastic coverage, and that just continued on throughout the season. I thought he was a top 10 safety in the country last year as a true freshman, and I think he's going to continue that this year, stepping up on that back half of that defense. The next, you had the captain of the defense, Johnson Dumas. Oh, my bad. Dumas Johnson, linebacker, sideline to sideline linebacker, hella athletic. Him and Smile Monday make a great tandem in that linebacker core. They're both going to be very freed up by that defensive line. Might see a lot of coverage sacks where those guys are getting to work. They're going to get to play and just read the plays and understand what they got to do. They did that at a high level last year and also the previous years. Just think about who they're behind in practice and who they're learning from. Players like Nicole B. Dean and looking up to Georgia icons like Roquan Smith and things of that nature. They've got the best teaching in the country, and so I think he's going to be ready to go as he's been ready to go as he was a star last year, and Georgia returns him. On that defensive line, the top three player is Michael Williams, another freshman. I believe he was a freshman All-American as well, tied for number one in sacks as a freshman last year. I think he had 30, 33 quarterback pressures, somewhere up in the 30s, a lot of quarterback pressures. Another top 10 players along with Malachi Starks from their class. I expect him to dominate and grow this year and become the best player if he's not already on that defensive line. I'm very excited to see what he does. As we know, Georgia has stars on all three levels of the defense, not just them. They're going to be supported by a lot. And it's hard to thin it out, but those are, I think, are the top three players on the defense and the top three players on the offense. Next is how they match up with their rivals. Their rivals being the number one Florida Gators. Georgia has smoked them for the past couple of years. I think it's going to be a good matchup with the Georgia offense versus Florida defense. Florida defense is bringing in coordinator Armstrong from Southern Miss, very aggressive. Going to see a lot of blitzing, and I think that's what you got to do when you're trying to test to see who Carson Beck is as a quarterback, because you know there's so much proven around him. He's pretty much one of the only unproven weapons on the Georgia offense. So I think Armstrong is going to send a lot of pressure at them and going to make them work. I think the Gators have good cornerbacks, a solid, stout, strong, large defensive line. So they're going to force them to complete the intermediate throws and down the field throws. And we got to see how that plays out. On the other side, that Georgia defense against Florida offense, arguably the biggest mismatch in the country. Um, we got to see how Graham Mertz plays. We got to see how he plays. We got to give him time. We just can't say what we want to say and what evidence has shown us, but we have to give him time to see how he's going to evolve in the Florida offense, things of that nature. We've been hearing a lot about slants, bubbles, short passes. And Florida does have speed and athletes on the outside at receiver and at tight end. So, same way we were talking about Carson Beck. Graham just has to manage the game. Got a great running back tandem. Maybe the top running back tandem in the nation, and Trevor Etienne and Johnson back there. So we got to see how they play along with Treon Webb. I don't want to leave him out. So we got to see how they come together. But that Georgia defense is going to be really stout. And I, before the game happened, months before it happens, I could just imagine Georgia just sitting close to the line of scrimmage, making Graham throw into tight windows and committing to stopping the run. And I think that's how every team is going to play Florida this year, starting with Utah. I want to make a quick pause real quick. If y'all like the video, comment and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate everything y'all do. I appreciate all the support. Now back to it. The next rival would be Auburn. Auburn, the granddaddy of them all. We got to see how Auburn is going to come out this year. We know Hugh Freeze can really draw up an offense. They weren't great last year. Lost some players through the transfer portal, brung some in. I like their freshman class that they brought in, but I don't think Auburn's ready, and that Georgia defense is going to be their biggest test of this season. It's going to be hard for them to manage anything of significance, but we got to see how they think going to win at the end of the schedule prediction. I think Georgia matches up with Auburn really well. And Auburn fans, get in the comment. Let me know who's going to be the quarterback this year. I'm not sure who's going to be. I know one of you guys quarterbacks got in trouble. I forgot what his name was. Transferred in last year, I believe from LSU. Levy got in trouble. Is it going to be Robbie Ashford? Who's it going to be? I'm not sure. You guys let me know. Next, I want to slice this in half because we all know Georgia Tech. Brett Pry, he has a chance to be a good coach, but ultimately that's going to start at recruiting, and it's hard to recruit to Georgia Tech with their academic restrictions and qualifications. But we're going to see how it plays out. I think he has a chance to be better than the last guy, but again, the talent deficit is so large and the gap is so big. We're going to see how it plays out. But I got Georgia winning this game. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I got Georgia winning that game pretty handily and easily. Uh, the reason I said I want to slice it in half because I want to add in Tennessee there as the rival. This game, again, is going to be in Knoxville. So we got to see how it plays out. We're going to see what happens with Joe Milton. I think Tennessee has improved on defense. We got to see how they are on offense. Of course, when you have a Heisman candidate quarterback like Hendon Hooker, and they also lost, I forgot his name, but the wide receiver that ended up playing for the New York Giants got drafted by them in the second or third round. Great player. We got to see how they transition from that. Also had another wide receiver, I think, went in the second, third round from Tennessee this year. So they're reloading, even though they picked up a great wide receiver, Thornton from Oregon, and the transfer portal. I think 6'5", 205 with blazing speed. We got to see how those two guys are going to mesh and what their camp has been like. Tennessee fans, get in the comment and give me some information on that. Finally, we got to see what the schedule prediction is going to be like. So first game, we got UT Martin. I got Georgia going 1-0, beating UT Martin at home. They put in four games at home. I know it's good to be keen, but goddamn. So first game, UT Martin 1-0 Georgia. Second game, Ball State 2-0 Georgia. Third game, South Carolina is going to be a real interesting game. A real interesting game. I'm going to go 3-0 Georgia. Fourth game, UAB 4-0 Georgia. Fifth game at Auburn. I know this is a rivalry game and rivals can be tricky, but I'm going to go with the Bulldogs, UGA on this one, 5-0 Georgia. Kentucky, we got to see how they're going to be with their new quarterback for the NC State transfer. His name is eluding me right now, but we got to see how that's going to play out. Also getting our OC back from the Los Angeles Rams last year after a 1 year hiatus. I think they're going to be better this year, Kentucky, but I still got Georgia winning on the at home. So what is that? 6-0 Georgia, Vanderbilt. Enough said 7-0 Georgia, Florida. I'm gonna watch this game. Like I said, I'm a Jacksonville native, and so I'm gonna pay a lot of attention to it. The city's always buzzing when this game started. You know, I've been in Jacksonville for about 2 years now, and I didn't know the significance of this rivalry until I moved here and how much it moves the local economy, how people are excited about this game, and how big how many Florida fans are in Jacksonville. I know it's like 1 hour away from Gainesville, but also it's not that far away from Athens as far as um, a car ride being 5 or 6 hours. But the thing about it is Georgia's been on such a tear that, you know, people bandwagon all the time. So we got a lot of Georgia fans here. I see a lot of the G in this city since Georgia's been racking up the national championships over the years. So with that one, I got Georgia pulling out the win. 8-0. Got Missouri. I'm gonna say 9-0, but I'm not gonna sleep on Missouri. They played Georgia really close last year. I believe Georgia won by 4 points, sleepwalking through most of the game, almost gave it up there. Ultimately, almost cost them a chance at potentially playing for a national championship. But I got Georgia winning this game. I think Missouri still has questions at quarterback. We got to see how that plays out. But big win over Missouri, big win over Georgia for Missouri on the recruiting trail yesterday, picking up the number one player, defensive lineman from St. Louis. You're going to need a lot of those to be able to compete with the Georgia Bulldogs. We got to see how. You know, I like NIL leveling the playing field in natures like this, but I still got Georgia winning this game. Next, we're at 9-0 Georgia. Ole Miss. Again, this is in Athens. My gut is telling me Georgia, but I'm gonna go Ole Miss on this one. I know Georgia fans not gonna like it. They're gonna, you know, think they're going undefeated, and they very well might, and that's probably the right answer. But I think Ole Miss is gonna pull this one out. I got I got Georgia being 9-1 at this point in the season. Next, we got Tennessee at Tennessee. Again, this is another for me a toss-up game. A toss-up game. But I like Josh Heupel. I like what he's done this year. I like how he's transformed his team. I think he's recruiting really well. I think that defense is going to be ready. I think Tennessee is one of the best stadiums to play in. Just seeing those 100,000 people and all that orange and white, and they really stepped up to the plate. I think they got over a hump last year, beating Alabama. With Jalen Hyatt, that was the receiver name with 5 touchdowns. And ultimately, I got Georgia losing this game as well. I know Georgia fans is not liking that right now, but y'all let me know why y'all don't like it and why I might be tripping. So at this point, I got Georgia being 9-2. Their final game being at Georgia Tech. Simply put, I got Georgia demolishing Georgia Tech, and Georgia finishing 10-2. So this has been fun. Again, y'all like, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate everything y'all done. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think. Peace.